What's good, everybody? It's your boy Big Nate. Welcome back to Big Nate's Book Reviews. Home of the best book reviews. And as you can see, we are at the beautiful Machu Picchu. So I'm just gonna bless y'all's timeline with a little bit of some clips, some little vlog videos, and we're gonna get right into the bookshelf tour. So let's go. Alright, what's good, everybody? Me back. I'm gonna hit this and then we're just gonna jump right back into it, so let's go. We have Bestiary or Bestiary by, I think it's Julio Cortázar, and I see on the back here Pablo Neruda, who's like a contemporary poet. Even I'm familiar with the name. Anyone who doesn't read Cortázar is doomed, so that sounds fire. And I've actually read the first few stories here, which were very surreal and weird. And just, I don't know, actually seems like a really cool book. He wrote probably a perhaps more famous novel. This shit won't focus. More famous novel called Hopscotch. But yeah, so I liked what I read, and I would totally keep going. In fact, I should maybe I'll even set that one out. But Edgar Allan Poe, you know, one of the greats. Actually, to me, I'm kind of hit or miss sometimes, but nah, his banger stuff is undeniably fire. And yeah, this is exactly 10 Great Mysteries, because he's kind of the OG Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes came from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, I think, but I think the template for that came from this. Actually, I guess I don't know who came first, but yeah, it's interesting how Poe is like, you know, a super famous horror writer, but also ended up doing like mysteries. The Lives of a Cell. Why ain't that shit? This shit's bad. It's because there's a beautiful ray of light like shining right in here, I bet. But The Lives of Cells by what's his name? Lewis Thomas. I can see on the back here. And I think I've talked about this already in the book haul. I can't remember, but I should totally leave this out because this guy was good, and I literally just went in the other room right now to grab it. This book, The Immense Journey by Lauren Isley. I've been reading a few essays from them. They're good. At its best, it's really good, but then there are some, like, you know, slower parts. But both of these are like essays by biologists. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but like scientists writing about basically the beauty of nature in all its forms, from its, like, you know, forest, ecosystem, evolution, life, and then life down to, like, you know, the cellular components. Yeah, shout out to both of these. Really great contemporary writers on nature, because to me nature is also, like, especially as they write it, like a form of mysticism. It's one of the many different flavors. But you can have, in fact, from The Immense Journey, he has this line where I forget what it is exactly, but like he's just in this beautiful scene and he said he felt himself merge with nature, and it's like his self merge with, it's beautiful. So, which is very much, you know, the mystical school of thought where you lose yourself, the losing of oneself into that larger aspect. Like the Upanishad says, a stream going back to join like the original body of water. So shit like that. So The Good Soldier. Yeah, I found this on the side of the road. Ford Maddox Ford, super famous, like, if I remember, World War II-y kind of book. Apparently this is like an amazing book. Like, this makes many respected people's like top favorite books type stuff. So let me know if you've read The Good Soldier and if I need to bump it up on the queue. Italo Calvino. Invisible Cities. I've been recommended this by several people. This is a book that pops up frequently. I love that front cover right there, and if I recall, it's like very vignette-y. Yeah, I think I can't even see that really because it's reversed, but I think each one is about a city, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Let us know in the comments what you thought about Invisible Cities by Italo Calvino, but I will actually definitely set this one out. because it came up in the Discord, which you need to get to if you have not gone there. It's a poppin' community. Shout out to the Big Nate gang in the Discord. Link in the description. So up next, Salman Rushdie, Midnight's... Oh, what the heck? Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children. And it says here that it got the Booker Prize and was best book in 25 years. You see, too, the Penguin logo certified. So this seems like it'd be a really, just from the accolades alone, and never judge a book by that. But, you know, Rushdie is someone that's, he's an important writer, so I hear. I've never read him. And didn't he just try and didn't someone just try and stab him? Like, didn't he have a something on his head, like where people were, what's the word called? Let me know in the comments. I know some fools will know that. Where they're like, it's like an outlaw. It's like a bounty, actually. You get money if you kill him or something like that. But anyway, born at the stroke of midnight at the precise moment of India's independence, the infant Salim Sinai is celebrated in the press and welcomed, blah, 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 blah. Telepathic powers that connect him with 1,000 other midnight children, all born in the initial hour of India's independence. Oh, this sounds actually so sick. And an uncanny sense of smell. Okay. Inextricably, blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, shout out to this book. I might even leave this one out too. Okay, The Secret Teachings of Jesus by the Four Gnostic Gospels. So I'm just gonna open it up, and like it's got like it's like a bunch of sayings, like saying 62. Jesus said, "I disclose my mysteries to those who are worthy of my mysteries. Do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing." Okay, that's actually fire. And I love the occult aspect of it being like a secret, because in this other book that I'm reading by Agrippa, which is the 3 books of occult philosophy and magic, is some shit like that. And there's a big emphasis on like the secret nature of like scientific things, like how it's science itself is esoteric, and it really is, but it's like you can't even think about becoming a magician until you become like, you know, you become worthy of the mystery. So okay, I might leave this out because I always like those the little saying books. That this would be good high reading. Case in point. See, look at that. Okay, oh, Kokoro by, shoot, I forget who. Yeah, Natsumi Soseki, right, Soseki. This is a popular book. I've seen this one pop up a couple times on BookTube. My girl read it and she really liked it. So I'm like, yeah, I'm down. Okay, so yeah, that is Kokoro. Up next, we have the Beckett trilogy, which again is this one of the books I found on the side of the road. I think I did talk about this in another video, but yeah, again, I'm overdue on reading. I haven't read anything by him. Up next, we have The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. Red flag, apparently. But yeah, I also haven't read this, but I would definitely consider. It won't be anytime soon, but no, that's mandatory reading. Absolute mandatory reading at some point. Susan Sontag, I think it's like on photographs. Yeah, on photography. And Susan Sontag is, I'm pretty sure as far as I know, she's like a literary critic. And so I'll just read the back. And this is an essay of hers. She's written like, what is it? Oh, On Camp. That's what it is. That's a super famous one by her, On Camp. But it says, photographs are everywhere. They possess the power to shock or to idealize. They create a sense of nostalgia and act as a memorial. And they can be used as evidence or to identify us. Anyway, okay, so it's essays, yeah, whatever, on photography. Photography is a cool art form, too, when you think about it, the nature of the camera. I mean, look at this. This is different, though. This is like videography, so, which is a whole different thing than photography, but okay. The Trial, yeah, by Franz Kafka. It's been a long time since I've read this, but I fucked with this book heavily. It's just, I don't know how he does it, but with surrealism, there's this like master balance you have to maintain between things just being weird enough that it's like, oh, okay, like that's possible, I guess, but then it just being completely weirdo. And that's what, and to me, Kafka's just someone who does that so well. And that's, as I remember, it's been a long time at this point, but I remember The Trial being an absolutely fantastic book, especially considering that it's like he didn't finish it. He died before he was able to fully. So like low-key rough draft status, and it's still fire. Same thing applies to this book, his book of short stories, which a lot of these are also unfinished. Like they literally talk about that in the introduction. But yeah, no. And I've talked about Kafka stories on the podcast, so if you want to hear a deep dive into my thoughts on Bro, get to Big Nate Short Story Club, which I will pick up again at some point. I just, with the job, it's like, you know, something's got to go, and it's on ice, but get there. And then let's go to the next book. The Gnostic Gospels. Don't let that bookmark fool you. Oh, it's right at the beginning anyway. But let's see. I'm just going to read a random thing. Heaven and earth have a shape similar to the womb, and if anyone wants to investigate this, let him carefully examine the pregnant womb of any living creature, and he will discover an image of the heavens and the earth. That's actually so fire, bro. Wow. And I've this is something I've been more and more interested to, just the things in the natural world symbolically reflecting things that we, like our own human concepts, like, you know, the womb and life. So, okay, cool, very cool. Imaginary Beings by Jorge Luis Borges. This is just like an anthology, like a mini vignette anthology of just all types of, like, literally imaginary beings. The Eight-Forked Serpent. The Eight-Forked Serpent of Koshi, the man devourer, quote, is a fearful beast in Japanese cosmogonic myths. Its eyes, quote, its eyes are red as the winter cherry. Its body is single, 8-headed and 8-tailed. Rock furs grow on each of its head. On each of its side is a mountain, and on its back grow moss, pine trees, and cryptomeria. Its length as it crawls trails over 8 valleys and 8 hills, and its belly to the sight is always bloody and fomented. Wow. That was actually crazy, and that sounded like a terrifying... The Snow White honestly did it. Like, you can just picture a white snake. That's even more terrifying. So, alright, shout out to Borges. How much time I got on this thing? Okay. Let me get a drink. Oh, hold up. I got coffee. Nice try, my food. Oh, I drank most of it. Okay. Indian Legends of the Pacific Northwest. Just one of my mini myth books that I have. And I always, you know, I love myths because they're also vignette style. They're just like these little, typically like, you know, a page. Let's see, how Coyote helped the people. They got a little picture. This one's kind of longer. No, I mean, that was it. That was literally it. And they're all kind of like, there's a new one anyway, the point is, and these are, you know, deep themes that get addressed in all forms of mythological literature all around the world, and you can just pick one up and kind of, but they also have their unique sort of own values that they implement into the mythology as well. Up next we have The Storyteller Essays by Walter Benjamin, and I read this a while ago. The general idea I remember being it's sort of against the idea of the novel actually, and very much related to the Native, in fact I wonder if that's why they're paired. Although I don't think so that's kind of cool. But the idea that story was meant to be told amongst people, like in normal, you know, you go to the store, or your family comes home, and what do? You exchange stories, and it's very embodied and it relates to the community, especially when you have like ritualistic storytelling. But the novel just it's a completely solitary thing. You write it it's just you and the paper, and you oftentimes like exclude people from your life just so you can better focus on this. So the novel is different than the story, kind of that idea. So that's Walter Benjamin. An Immense World. I just talked about this book in a recent video, so get there if you want to know. And it's good stuff, so you better get there. The Netanyahus by Joshua Cohen. This book was, I remember, just good, witty, fun, historical. I learned a lot of interesting things, and was just honestly just a banger of a book. New York, what is it, the NYRB? Yeah. And National Jewish Book Award, New York Times. So, but whatever. Anyway, more importantly, it gets the Big Nate's big book reviews, some of the best book reviews, stamp of approval. So, shout out to the Netanyahus. Up next, The Cloud of Unknowing. I've talked about this book quite a bit, so just if you're interested, watch some of my other videos. Frankenstein. I really fucked with this book. I mean, yeah, I definitely no great book. Let me just say great book. Let me just say right off the rip. But I have some thoughts, and I can see why this was truly revolutionary, especially for its time. It was revolutionary just to me already. Emerson, and this is a whole. It's got to be basically his collected works. Yeah, essential writings, of which there's a lot, and I just fuck with Emerson quite heavily. He's such a good rhetorical essayist. You can just tell his own reading comes from just straight from the greats himself, like Cicero and Plato and them. Because Emerson is also very much a Stoic, if you ask me. It's like Stoicism plus nature and God, that kind of stuff. So yeah, shout out to Emerson. Okay, and then we got Clara and the Sun, Kazuo Ishiguro. So this is the one book I did read. And it was good. It was definitely wasn't the worst, but to me this felt like the beginning of what could have been a cool book. A lot of cool themes with artificial intelligence. I think basically it's like a really, and it's told from, hold up, her perspective? I forget. Can't remember, because I remember that was like a cool, I think we never get her perspective actually. Like, it's never I thought. You only see about her from external behavior. Like, she talks and says some really interesting things, but that's actually an amazing part about this book, is not giving away the first person perspective for Clara. But because Clara is a robot, it's like a friend, it's like a dystopian society. Again, really cool ideas, needs to be developed more. But because the premise is actually great. Clara is like this, I think it's an AF, right? Artificial friend. That's what it is. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I just dug that up. She's an AF, an artificial friend, and which you can just buy at the store. And Clara presumably has these very in-depth or like deep emotional cognitive thoughts. She's indistinguishable from an actual person, and there's just a lot of interesting things going on with this book. But ultimately, it was I feel like the pace was kind of slow. It really just is like what I said. It feels like the rough draft of what could have been a really great book. So up next we have Propaganda, which essentially is like modern rhetoric. I think I was talking about that earlier at some point, but by Edward Bernays. And I feel like I was looking through the reviews and it looked pretty good actually. And to me, I swear, if I recall, it was low-key like communication majors and rhetoric majors who had to read this book, and they actually had good things to say about it. So and again, more important than ever in the age of social media and all this political upheaval, propaganda is so important. So I might even leave this one out just because that would be cool to visit. Atonement, Ian McEwan, man, if you read this book, But aside from that, like, because that part is, or just the whole aspect, there's a lot of cool things about the book. But it was a little slow and boring, and there were parts that were just less than, I don't know, weren't super captivating, put it that way. Carson McCullers, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, just a fire book. Oprah's Book Club, again, certified. She wrote this when she was really, age of 23, and I feel like this book has so much depth to it, and it's so good. Great character work. Like, there's it does that thing where it switches between a number of like different characters, and you come to love them all. And this is coming from me, who I truly couldn't tell you a name in this book. It's been so long since I've read it. I remember quite enjoying it. Mencius, which I honestly don't even know, but it was giving me Confucius vibes, Master Kong vibes. So let's see. As centralized government replaced feudalism in China, the ideas of Confucius. Do you notice the industrialization in China theme in this book, or in this video? It's kind of interesting. Faced the challenge of increasing cynicism, blah, 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 blah. 320 BC, who adapted... Okay, let's just open it. Mencius said, "How can one get the cruel man to listen to reason? He dwells happily amongst dangers, looks upon disasters as profitable, and delights in what will lead him to perdition. If the cruel man listened to reason, there would be no annihilated states or ruined families." Okay, yeah, and it goes on, but I think I'll stop there. So, okay, Mencius. Again, this could just be another book of yet more ancient wisdom. What did it say? Great speeches by African Americans. I got this at like a super big, one of those book sales where they got like a warehouse of books, low-key. Yeah, like I said, I'm just on the lookout for, I've mentioned a couple times now that I do enjoy having books of speeches, because they just make for relatively easy, short, but insightful reading. So I figured, fuck it. Seneca on the Shortness of Life, I believe this is. Life is long if you know how to use it. Okay. I kind of don't like, because it says it's a Penguin Books of Great Ideas series. Not the greatest, and there's like a list more on the back here. But anyway, yeah, Seneca is just another one of those old heads. Man, focus ass camera, whatever, you won't know. But Seneca is just like, to me, like Cicero, which is just one of those ancient rhetorician talking about Stoic philosophy types, and just philosophy in general. Like, I love them. I remember actually I read one of the first essays, I have a book right down there that probably has it. It's called Happiness, and it was this class I took because I got a minor in philosophy, and it was a philosophy of happiness class, and there was a book we read by, or an essay we read by Seneca. Up next, we got, what is this? Oh, the Analects by Confucius. Yeah, what do you know? I've been going through my notes for this book, and I just really enjoyed this. To me, Confucius is just super chill. Again, he's ancient Chinese philosopher, but he's just like, he's funny and he's chill. I don't know how to explain it, but just like mysticism, but like way more casual. And bro is low-key like sarcastic and it's got jokes, and it's just very everyday things. But yeah, the amount of like, you know, beauty and truth, insight, all that stuff, what's contained in it, really, really great. There is a lot of like interest. A lot of it's kind of not even fluff, but they just be writing down Master Kong said like today was warm, and they said, I don't know, just like random shit that's like not even crazy. But what is this? Stories of Your Life and Other Stories by Ted Chiang, who is a science fiction. I think he's only ever done short stories. So sci-fi short story writer, and everything I've read by Ted Chiang is fire. And he's someone who it's been a long time since I've read him at this point, but I need to revisit because I haven't even read any book in this yet, because I have read all of Exhalation and I thought it was fantastic. So yeah, I'm setting that one out. I'm setting this one aside. That is definitely gonna make the cut. Okay, so again, one of those things, great quotes from great leaders, and I know it's like kind of corny or whatever, but I opened this up the other day, like to Albert Einstein. Okay, there's been so much random shit falling out of my book, like my books, but this actually looks interesting. Look at this. It's like a CD to go along with it. This is what happens when we don't lose, or when we lose contact with physical media. Because I just watched that video by Colorless Wonderland about the death of DVDs and just physical movie media in general. Anyway, wow. Let me try and find Einstein. We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. Like, isn't that facts? Like, when you think about shit like climate change, too, you gotta think next level. There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. Like, isn't that just beautiful? Facts. You can choose to like not appreciate it, or because that's the thing about science. Once you realize just not even the beauty, just the intricacy and all the contingencies and just how complex the world is to make everything aspire. So you're here and thinking and alive. It's like you could see it as a miracle, or you could just be a bitch. So, and then he says, intellectuals solve problems, geniuses prevent them. Boom, banger. And I love this one. Information is not knowledge. You can be a know-it-all. Like, you could have a ton of like book knowledge and in book information and not have true conceptual understanding knowledge. So anyway, again, one of those books that I could just leaf through if I was so inclined. Whenever I please. But it's nice, easy reading. So, boom. That would actually be a good like book to put when you're taking a shit. Get off TikTok, get off Reddit. Go on great quotes from great leaders instead. Pop the DVD in and get to it. So, Ceremony, I took this for a like Native American literature class. I remember quite liking this book. It's been an extremely long time since I've read it, but I did enjoy it. So, okay, first, before anything, I'm taking this opportunity, because my landlady actually just came down, so I'm taking this opportunity to hit the doobie. Alright, up next we got A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. Yavidi me. Actually, I don't even know if that's right, but you'll know I say that because a distinct feature of A Clockwork Orange is its crazy use of lingo. But I feel like a lot of people even had to read this in high school. Let's see. Influential nightmare vision of the future. Criminals take over after dark. Teen gang leader Alex narrates in fantastically inventive slang. See, it's even in the back. That echoes the violent intensity of youth rebelling against society. Yeah, it's true. Dazzling and transgressive, A Clockwork Orange is a frightening fable about good and evil and the meaning of human freedom. You know, I actually feel like that was a great description of this book. So, shout out to them. And yeah, I liked A Clockwork Orange. I mean, it's been a while since I've read it, but yeah. I Have a Dream, which is a collection of speeches by the man himself, MLK Jr., who I just did a video talking about on the Trumpet of Conscience. So, yeah, again, just a book of speech. I was even saying I need to get more by him. Well, turns out, what do you know? I have more. I'm one step ahead of myself. So shout out to me. Shout out to MLK Jr. Anna Karenina. Of course I'm gonna do a book review on this. It's just, this is a book that's very hard and I want to do justice to. So just, patience is a virtue. Bear with me. But yeah, just an amazing masterclass book. The more I've sat on this book, and especially as I go through my notes, it's just one of the all-time great books of existence, literally, not an exaggeration. So shout out to Anna Karenina. That's my thoughts, at least. That's my thought. I know that's a big claim, but it's got it all. Truly, it's got it all. A supposedly fun thing I'll never do again by DFW, David Foster Wallace. I've been kind of bouncing back and forth, but yeah, he has such a unique style. He's very funny, very witty, very intelligent too. Like that type that is just like intensely intelligent and they just use their sarcasm and wit to just like tear it down, or for that matter, like make an argument for. He does that, but just about so many different topics. Literary critic as well. Oh, I can see my battery flashing. So yeah, shout out to David Foster Wallace, and I want to read eventually his bigger texts like Infinite Jest. So, okay, on that note, this is dying. I feel like I've been going at it for a bit. I'm about to dip. So I'll see you in a bit. For me, it'll be a couple days, but I'll see you on the other side. What's good, everybody? Back another day, another dollar. We ain't gonna waste no time. We're just gonna get straight into it. So up next, we got Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman, which I believe, let's see, in 18, because I think it's one poem. In 1855, he published at his own expense the first edition of Leaves of Grass, a visionary volume of 12 poems. Okay, yeah, never mind. So I've kind of ashamed to say I've read very little Walt Whitman. I've tried before, and I honestly just found it, I don't know, I don't think I was like mature enough literarily quite yet. So I'm just gonna open up to a random page. Endless unfolding of words of ages, in mine a word of the modern, a word en masse. A word of the faith that never balks, one time as good as another time, here or henceforward, it is all the same to me. Hurrah for positivist science, long live exact demonstration. So actually, I kind of see why I probably wasn't ready for this. It's not like Robert Frost type, two roads diverged in a yellow wood. Bro, hey, stop your itching, fool. Come on, man. That was my dog, I don't know if you can hear him. A famous, notorious interrupter of videos. However, anyway, that's Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman. So, which I feel like I should actually take the time to really penetrate, if you will, because it's a all-time famous for a reason. So, Ted Chiang's Exhalation, this is the book I mentioned earlier, and I have read, I believe, this whole thing. Let me see. Actually, I might not have finished. Merchant and the Alchemist's Gate, fire. That's the first story. Super fire. Really good. Exhalation, also really good. What's Expected of Us, yeah, the life cycle of software objects. But yeah, Ted Chiang is just a really excellent modern sci-fi writer, because he's very much in the philosophical vein of sci-fi writing as well. Very philosophical. Bleak House by Charles Dickens. Yep, this is the book that Marlon and Jake, I believe, is both from Marlon and Jake Read Dead People, is I believe their favorite Charles Dickens book. So this, if I do read a Dickens, I honestly feel like it might be this one first. And again, I found this on the side of the road. It was one, I did a haul on this. There was like a whole bunch of like actually crazy fire books that were just sitting there. Allie Smith, Autumn. I think I showed another Allie Smith book earlier, and she's just someone, again, that I am overdue on reading. Modern writer, let's see, New York Times bestseller. I'm pretty sure, I feel like I even did How to Be Both. I swear I already just did that book, but, and I think that won the Booker, so. Allie Smith. The Scarlet Letter, Nathaniel Hawthorne. Haven't read it. Honestly, have no interest in reading it. I know it's like a American classic that it's like heresy if you... And I'm an English major, believe it or not. So I should have read this. Was assigned to read it. Did not read it. Don't plan on it. To me, it seems boring. Let me know if that's wrong in the comments. Gilead, also from Insert Literary Pun here. She was just talking high praise about it. It was also winner of the Pulitzer Prize. And I got it at Goodwill for $2.30. So if I'm not mistaken, it's like Christian, and then like father writing a letter to his son. Let me see. Look at this. I hate when they do this. 24 years after her first novel, Housekeeping, Marilyn Robinson returns with a story. Okay, now we get to it. Fathers and sons and the spiritual battles that still rage in America's heart, blah, blah, blah. So not a book I would normally pick up, although I'm also seeing a winner of the National Book Critics Circle Award for Fiction. Not a book I would normally pick up, but still looks like it would, I feel like this would be a good book. Let me know in the comments. Okay, up next, I remember this actually. I meant to buy the autobiography of Malcolm X, And apparently I just bought, I think I just went with like, let me get the cheapest absolute possible version of this book, and it's actually literally a like Spark Notes guide to the autobiography of Malcolm X, so completely useless. Although maybe if I ever read it, which I will, maybe I could bust this book out, although it's highly doubtful. Toni Morrison, Playing in the Dark, which I think is also a collection of poetry. The back says literary criticism. Oh, okay, yeah, so maybe perhaps essays. Looks like there's 3: Black Matters, Romancing the Shadow, Disturbing Nurses, and The Kindness of Sharks. So, and I think this is one of her later writings, but yeah, Nobel Prize winning author of Beloved and Jazz, and also Song of Solomon. Learned, stylish, and immensely persuasive work of literary criticism that changes the way we read American literature and opens a new chapter in the American dialogue on race. So I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds cool. Next, The Meaning of Human Existence by E.O. Wilson, who is, I believe, I do the same thing every time I talk about E.O. Wilson, who he is indeed the one. I'm trying to see if I have it on one of my bookshelves, but he is the one who wrote this massive, or like co-wrote this massive textbook called Superorganisms, which is all about, I think, just the behavior and like hierarchical structure of ants and ant colonies. But anyway, and I swear it's him, and I do this each time, but I am pretty sure it's him. And then this is just a super popular book, The Meaning of Human Existence. It's got the National Book Award finalist, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. And let's see, so I'm just going to skip because the first sentence is, of course, just singing its praise. From an examination of our species' origins to a provocative look at what our future portends, The Meaning of Human Existence unites the sciences and humanities to propose answers to the most profound and vexing questions of all time. I see human species, free will, religion, the collapse of biodiversity. So, yeah, okay, that actually, I'm all, like I've been saying, I'm all for the union of arts and sciences. So I might even leave it, and it's like a super famous book, Pulitzer, National Book Award, like that's going to be a good book. F. Scott Fitzgerald, Tender is the Night. It's been a long time since I read this, but I remember thinking it was kind of mid, to be honest, and fell short from The Great Gatsby, but that might not be a fair assessment. It's been a long time since I've read it. The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. Really liked this book, actually. A lot of good stuff. I do have some critiques, but I am going to talk. This is a book I read like kind of recently, so I will be talking about this in some capacity on the channel. But yeah, just a really good, or like good existential book, and a lot of, I feel like, famous lines and quotes have come here. And this image and The Unbearable Lightness of Being is a very popular thing in like pop culture. I feel like you see like plays on this name all the time. So okay, next we're just gonna do as one big boom, the 3-Body Problem trilogy, which I've done videos on all 3 of these books. I think the scope and the ideas in this book are just really fantastic, and honestly, it's a trilogy of books that I find myself constantly referencing, and also just finding myself think about. At times, the writing can be a little cheesy, a little corny, not like amazing literary writing, but in general, because at times it is quite good too. And then the ideas in this book, and just again the scope, the plot. Not really the characters, but everything else I think is really, fantastic. And they're making a book series out of this. And, I'm actually being a little more critical. People have, nothing but praise to sing for this trilogy. So, 3-Body Problem by Liu Cixin. Okay, up next, I guess this one's kind of like, it's just an introduction to statistical learning and applications in R. This is one of those books where it was, I can understand the R stuff, like the programming stuff, but the actual, and look, you can see I have highlights, like I was trying, I really was. But it was just, again, once it comes down to the math stuff, I always lose it. That's why I'm going back for math. And actually this part I even did get, but passed pretty quick, just, I don't know. But this was actually like a super good book, if that makes sense. Like I was understanding it more so than I thought I'd be able to. Like I think it's written as accessibly as you can be to be like literally a statistics textbook. So yeah, this is a book I would actually love to revisit, especially in light of getting my math skills up. Sapiens, we've talked about this, basically one of those books on like the history of humankind, and indeed, okay, yeah, literally a brief history of humankind. So yeah, that should be cool. That should be cool. Or I said that should be cool as if I haven't read it. It's funny. Okay, The Martian by Andy Weir. I really did like, in fact, here, it's right here, come to think of it. Project Hail Mary. I did like this book. And the Martian is obviously the book that they made the famous movie based off of. And if it's anything like this book, I think I will probably, you know, get a kick out of it. Like, is it going to profoundly change my life? I don't know about that, but will it be a fun, entertaining, but also, like, you know, insightful read? I hope so. That's how I felt about this. So, okay, cool. That's Andy Weir. Ethics by Aristotle. Yeah, this is you know, I will read this book, but my intro to Aristotle hasn't been the best. And that's because I tried reading, what's it called? The Nicomachean Ethics, and it is good. It was just like a little too heady for me at that time. And like I said, I've tried reading Rhetoric a while ago. It might go different, but I think Aristotle is just not quite, his writing is just something you got to get used to. And I imagine it's probably the same for ethics. Henry James, the American. I don't even know why I got this. I mean, not that it seems bad, but yeah, Henry James. I'm more familiar, honestly, with William James, which is his brother, you know, he's a super famous psychologist, and I do know that his brother, in this case, Henry James, did do fiction. So yeah, that could be interesting. It's his third novel, exploration of his most powerful perennial theme, the clash between European and American cultures, the old world and the new. And this is completely unfair, but for some reason, I am completely it's not even judging it by its cover, but for some reason, and again, it's completely unfounded. Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. Henry James just strikes me as someone who would be like kind of boring to read. So, okay, I'm out here hating for no reason, but that's okay. Plato, I never know how to pronounce this. Gorgias. This is a text that I've listened to at least one or two podcasts on. It's Plato. It's one of his more. I think he writes more so about like art and stuff like that. So let's see. To overcome the temptations of worldly success and to concentrate on genuine morality. Okay, so not about... Okay, the value of rhetoric, the dialogue becomes investigation on blah, 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 blah. You know, it's Plato, and I plan on just reading all of Plato's, like, discography. I don't know what the equivalent word is for writing, but, you know, basically all his major texts I do plan on reading, and this is definitely up there. Okay, and then Are We Smart Enough to Know How Smart Animals Are by Franz Duval, and I loved this book. At this point, it's been a few years since I've read it, but just all on the nature. Oh, look, the homie, E.O. Wilson. E.O. Wilson. Let's see what he said, actually. This is a remarkable book by a remarkable scientist. Facts. Drawing on a growing body of research, including his own, Franz Duval shows that animals from elephants and chimpanzees to the lowly invertebrates are not only smarter than we thought, but also engaged in forms of thought we have only begun to understand. And what was really powerful about this book to me was specifically the stuff about, I mean, yeah, I guess like the elephants and shit, like, but I've always been, because he has this whole other book that I read about, I forget exactly what it is, but basically chimpanzee intelligence or just primate intelligence in general. And, you know, we all know, like, you see videos and stuff, they seem very human and they seem to exhibit intelligence. But when you read, like, the Franz Duval science of, like, primate cognition, it is extremely compelling, and it's basically impossible to deny not only that they have some form of, like, consciousness and intelligence, but that it's actually rather sophisticated. So we'll just say that. So shout out to Franz Duval. I love this book. If you're interested in animal intelligence, animal consciousness, this I would go so far as to recommend this book. Okay, we got some fresh stacks here. I'm going to take a quick sip of what's left of my morning coffee, and then let's just get right back into it. So here we have this, what is it? The Possibility of Angels, a literary anthology. And this I am going to leave out because just like, first off, cool pictures, cool art. And on the back there, I don't know if you can quite see, but John Updike, Franz Kafka, Emily Dickinson, Leo Tolstoy, Sylvia Plath, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Flannery O'Connor, Bernard Wallamud, Anne Bradstreet, Wallace Stevens. Okay, those last people I didn't know, but those first like 5 or 6 were absolute banger authors. And it's an anthology of all these different writers across all these different styles and also like historical periods, writing about angels. So, and angels are just such a fascinating concept, even just like, you know, in the mythological sense, but yeah, just a constant source of inspiration for literature and spirituality. So I'm like, okay, yeah, fuck it. And I'm going to leave that one out. I kind of forgot I had this book. So, Letters to a Young Poet by Rilke. I got most of the way through this, or actually perhaps only halfway. Honestly, I don't know if that's an accurate bookmark, because I actually feel like I read this at some point. But famous book by the famous poet Rilke, who's going back and forth with a basically like rando correspondent who just started messaging him, and Rilke was like nice enough to exchange correspondence with him back, and there's just a great ton of great life and writing. I would say, yeah, writing and life advice in this book. So, shout out to Rilke, of whom I need to read more. He was a story of his or a poem of his or something got nominated for the Discord Short Story Club. So get to the Discord if you have not got there. Okay, Mountains Beyond Mountains. This was a high school read about this, what would you call him? Medical anthropologist, doctor, we'll say, philanthropist, Paul Farmer, who actually recently passed away and has been a big inspiration actually to my girl and also me as well. But just an absolute fucking boss of a person who's kind of a vigilante kind of thing, where he like will expressly just break the law in order to, like, for instance, give like villages in Africa vaccines that are just openly accessible in the US, but like don't, because he has some great quote about like, what is the point of making medical advancements if they don't benefit like everybody? Like, what, it's crazy that we can have like a vaccine created that will completely prevent the death or suffering of some disease, and it's just not being administered there like to other places because of something like, you know, money. So yeah, just truly, you know, an inspiration. Shout out to Paul Farmer and Tracy Kidder, because this is also a very compelling book about him and his life. So very cool. Atomic Habits, yeah, I get it. It's cheesy, it's corny, it's self-help, it's basic. I don't give a fuck. I really like this book. It has, at the very least, it prompted me to start doing certain practices that I'm still doing to this day and like form my daily structure. It comes from this book, so I don't give a fuck. I like this book. Shout out to Atomic Habits. 8 great comedies. I talked about this at a hall, in a book hall at some point. Aristophanes, Machiavelli, Shakespeare, Oscar Wilde, Anton Chekhov. So, you know, we got some big names, and yeah, comedies. A panorama of comedy, it says here on the back. So yeah, this is basically just a book of, like, I guess comedic short stories, but like by fire literary authors. So that actually sounds cool. Great modern short stories. I also did this in a hall. Similar vibe, just whatever. Famous short stories, collection of famous short stories. What do we have? Crime and Punishment by, I was like, what the fuck? The back says, I guess it's just, they're just flexing their other publications, I guess. Like, look at all this good shit. Yeah, The Republic. But their brothers, Karamazov, Vanity Fair. Interesting move, I guess, to put that on the back. But whatever. Anyway, cool. So that's that. Tales of an Empty Cabin. Again, I feel like this was all left over from a certain hall, actually, like a certain book hall I did, because these are all ringing a bell here. I think it was Calgary. Yeah, I think it was. Get there. That was a slept on video if you ask me. But this is Native American lit, as I understand it. Although I've seen some controversy about Gray Owl. Haven't looked too deep into it, but this is just one of those books that, again, is just like, from what I've just skimmed through, just the appreciation of nature and potentially through a Native American lens. So sounds fire. The Hermetica by Timothy, oh yeah, I remember that, Timothy Freaky, and couldn't forget that, and Peter Gandy. This is just, let's see, I'm just gonna scroll through the hierarchy of creation. Atum meets the cosmic mind. Atum is like, I think, like an old Egyptian god. Atum creates the cosmic mind creates the cosmos creates time creates change. Even just that right there is a major theme of a lot of stuff that I read. Like, the world of us, like, as in contrast with the transcendent, which is eternal, changeless, immutable, we live in the world of space and time is essentially, time is what is, like, you know, related to death and suffering and all these other, if there was no time, there would be no death. And same thing with, like, just we're embodied and we're just, you know, on this much lower plane. It goes on to say, the essence of Atum is primal goodness. The essence of the cosmic mind is permanent sameness. The essence of the cosmos is beautiful order. The essence of time is movement. The essence of change is life. So I'm like, yeah, it's just, you know, those verses of wisdom, which every time I leaf through this book, it's actually really good. So maybe and then I think there's sort of like some like essay like criticism on it, although I can't quite tell. But yeah, so anyway, this book looks good. I'll actually leave that one out. Mystics, I've definitely, I'll just kind of go through these. Same thing, just like, you know, excerpts of mystics across different cultures and religions and all types of good stuff. So again, I would love to get to that soon as well. I love those kinds of little anthology books. American Indian literature and anthology. I've leafed through some of this as well. It's got speeches, it's got essays, it's got short stories, and in fact, there was a fantastic, fantastic speech in this. I know, I remember that it being in this specifically. Let me find it. Red Jacket, like on the orations, speech to missionary Cram, speech to Mr. Richardson. All of the Red Jacket speeches were like just actually really fucking fire. I need to revisit it. It sort of blew me away. MLK vibes in terms of just the raw rhetoric. So yeah, shout out to that. Kandinsky, another book I would really love to get to. What does this say though concerning the spiritual in art? Like, you know, again, you have like one of the most famous modern artists writing about art and the spiritual in art. So it's like, bro, how have I not read this? Again, add it to the growing list. I need to compile a list of all of these, of like the mandatory must reads. And then would you look at this, E.O. Wilson, The Origins of Creativity. And I think this is a book, let's see, an eloquent exploration of creativity that grapples with the question of how this uniquely human expression came about. I think what this is going to be is E.O. Wilson just coming from a scientific perspective, talking about probably surveying a number of other scientists and artists and across all different domains just on the nature of creativity, which actually is like right up my alley right now. So I am going to leave this out. One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich by Solzhenitsyn, very famous book, relatively short too, which if you've read, I already related them, but if you've read what was it? I always get the E.O. Wilson book actually mixed up, like The Meaning of Human Existence and then Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Similar vibes, except this is just basically the Russian gulag version of it, but some really fantastic passages in this book that still stick with me to this day. And also just the theme of both of those of trying to find some level of spiritual hope. I don't even know if it's like hope, but some sort of spirituality, some form of transcendence, even in the depths, the deepest depths of like the possible human suffering. And I really, really enjoyed this book. And I should honestly revisit this. So One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich. Okay, then we have The Count of Monte Cristo. This is the version I have read, which is real battered and beaten, in fact, not by my own design. And I thought this is just, I just saw it and I'm like, oh cool, The Count of Monte Cristo, I'll read this. But I did not realize, and I don't think it even says anywhere, but this is totally the abridged version, which is to say like the much shorter version. I think, yeah, I mean, it's 430 pages, but the original one is huge. So this has to be the abridged version. So, but yeah, and honestly, I don't even, let's see. I see the back here, first word right there is, it says vengeance. Vengeance. So, set against the flaming years of the Napoleonic era, blah, blah, blah. Edmond Dantes, a man sentenced to life imprisonment for a crime he did not commit, who escaped from the notorious impregnable fortress, the Château de Louf, to exact a terrible vengeance on his enemies. So, probably one of the original two, or like, not original, but like just OG classic vengeance tales. And I remember it very much being in that vein of things, like just this massive epic adventure to ultimately, you know, deliver his vengeance. So it's The Count of Monte Cristo. Okay, then we have Mark Twain's Life on the Mississippi. Full confession, I got quite far into this book but did not finish it. Let me see. Yeah, like 250 plus pages. It was just, it's not even that it was bad, it was just a little too slow. Not even slow, it's just not the type of book I was ready for, but it's like Mark Twain sort of reminiscing and reflecting about just, maybe it was during his time when he was like working on the Mississippi River, but one of the aspects I remember about with this book is just the idea that like the Mississippi River is like this moving body of water, like obviously, but like each year it's just changing so dynamically, and at the same time like there's these little landmarks you have to remember, and it actually takes, it's like a whole, it really is a whole art form that was sort of dying too in the process of industrialization. That's kind of how I remember this book. But so yeah, shout out to Life on the Mississippi. I remember it being rather funny too at times. Cannery Row by Steinbeck. One of those books that I read years ago, but you know, I remember liking it. Like, I think it was good, not great. Steinbeck kind of figuring himself out, or at least trying his hand at like a shorter work. Dennis Lehane, Darkness, Take My Hand. Dennis Lehane is like a mystery writer. He's most known for Shutter Island. And this is one of the first things that like got me into reading, honestly, was mysteries. And Dennis Lehane specifically, I just like went and ate his shit. I read Shutter Island, like, you know, completely not knowing anything about, you know, how it ends or just what the ultimate story is about. And I just remember that was like the first book I'm not even gonna give like details, but that book hit me hard. Sinclair Lewis, Elmer Gantry. I took this in for like an American literature class, and it looks so boring, and it's a book I would never have picked up, but it was actually super funny and super good as far as I can remember, you know, it being many years since I've read it. But, and I don't even, let's see. Elmer Gantry scandalized readers when it was first published, causing Sinclair Lewis to be invited to a jail cell in New Hampshire and to his own lynching in Virginia. Whoa, I didn't even know that. His portrait of a golden-tongued evangelist who rises to power within his church. Yeah, I remember it did have to do with religion and church. A saver of souls who lives a life of duplicity, sensuality, and ruthless self-indulgence is also the record of a period, a reign of grotesque vulgarity. So, Elmer Gantry, let me know if you've read this in the comments. I do remember quite liking this book, though. Okay, yeah, I guess here we have this textbook, Proofs. This is, once again, the acquisition of a book is not the same as its contents. I really have been trying to get into math for a long time now, and I thought Proofs I could at least get through part of it, and I kind of did. You know, I made a little dent in it, but again, my math is not up to par. But this is supposed to be a really great book for an introduction to the idea of proofs, and from what I can tell, it is very like readable. He like kind of cracks jokes in the book, and it's just like, you know, it's very much like an introductory text for this kind of stuff, but it's supposed to be really good. I've seen it recommended in multiple places. Mystic River, Dennis Lehane. I already went on my Lehane pitch. The Pig Who Wants to Be Eaten. Oh yeah, 100 Experiments for the Armchair Philosopher. This is like way back when I was getting into philosophy. Like, what are some of the best philosophy books? Let's see. Good God. And the Lord spake unto the philosopher, I am the Lord thy God, and I am the source of all that is good. Why does thy secular moral philosophy ignore me? And the philosopher spake unto the Lord, to answer, I must first ask you some questions. You command us to do what is good, but is it good because you command it, or do you command it because it is good? Said the Lord, it's good because I command it, ? The wrong answer, surely, your mightiness. Okay, so yeah, just like a very like, you know, intro popular level to probably just like some basic, you know, philosophical dilemmas. I honestly have not read much of that book. What is this? I could tell you stories by like, yeah, okay, no, Patricia Hample. I've read a couple essays for this. This was a class I took. I was auditing it while I was in the PhD program, because you can just like take classes for free, and I was still trying to keep up. There were some cool looking classes, and there was one on creative nonfiction, and I took that class, and it was actually super cool. And I got that. That was one of the books that we had to get. Or I think we read an essay by her, and then I was like, wow, this is actually really good, so I bought the book. And then National Book Critics Circle Award finalist, and yeah. This is that textbook I mentioned earlier at some point, I believe, Happiness. And funny story, so it's just this collection of essays on happiness. I see the Republic here. Like I mentioned before, there's Seneca, I see utilitarianism, just kind of all sorts of different, let me see if I can pull this up. But I remember being so moved by this book, honestly, that, okay, yeah, so just Epicurus, Aristotle, Plato, Augustine, Seneca, Aquinas, Hume, Jeremy Bentham, Kant, Schopenhauer. So, just all types of, just a whole survey of philosophers. And I remember liking this book so much that I emailed the editor, Christine Vitrano, at least. I remember emailing her and just being like, yo, this is a fucking fire book collection. And she actually responded, and she was happy to hear that I emailed her and got a lot out of it. So that was kind of a fun little exchange. Medieval Wisdom, basically 3 picture books on alchemy, chivalry, and mysticism. And I have kind of leafed through these, and they're actually pretty cool. It's a nice balance of pictures, words, and insight, if that makes sense. I don't know if that does to anybody, but yeah. So Medieval Wisdom, Reasons and Persons. Don't let that bookmark fool you. I read this whole fucking thing, but again, I already know without reading this, without looking at it, it's one of those I super over annotate for. I can't tell if you can see, but just ridiculous. Just underlining fucking everything. Do you see this crap? But a really interesting book. It was a little over my head at the time, but I did read the whole thing. But some really fascinating stuff on just the nature of the individual, like what is the self, and the idea that the self doesn't actually exist, and all these crazy thought experiments. You know, like this one's almost just too basic to even give, but he does talk about it. But the case of like the Star Trek transporter or something, where it's like you get into this thing and it creates a copy of all your atoms, like down to the perfect precision somewhere else, but in the process it destroys your original atom. So a perfect, identical, truly identical, indistinguishable copy of you is made elsewhere while destroying the original. Would you get into the thing? Is that considered dying, or is it just, you know, is it the same, basically the same thing as going to sleep and waking up? So, you know, stuff that nature of thought experiment, except he takes that shit and goes on steroids. Like the whole book is just there's some really wild, in a good way, thought experiments that Derek Parfit comes up with. Dialogues on the Human Ape. Haven't read this, but again, it's just related to the animal intelligence stuff. And you see this picture here pointing out, it's like the ape pointing out like certain symbols. I think this actually has to do with language. So yeah, cool. Anyway, could be cool. And then we have Native American Stories, just again one of those anthologies of like basically myths. So again, that could be cool. And okay, I think I'm gonna call it for today. I'm gonna go, and I got a whole bunch of shit to do. So, but thanks for taking the morning with me, going through, helping me unpack some of the books. And again, I'll see you on the other side. All right, what it do to the Big Nate crew? Got the doobie, got the leftover coffee, and I got a big old fat stack of books. So we finna get right into it. Let's go. Okay, everybody, rise and shine. Another day, another dollar makes the tax man holler, bro. So okay. These ones are kind of grouped, so I just had this fat stack of books by my bedside table, which are like ones I've kind of been cycling through. These stacks kind of have like a little bit of a theme to them. So first I'm gonna go through like my bedside books. So these are my like most immediate, like I just got a fat stack of books like on my bedside, as this would imply. So we're just gonna go into those first. So first, I talked about this book recently, Thomas Ligotti, Songs of a Dream Scribe, and Songs of a Dead Dreamer and Grim Scribe. So get to my other videos if you want to hear about that. But I've read a little bit more, but still I'm kind of on hold on this one, but that's all right. Aristotle, the Nicomachean Ethics, that's on my bedside just purely because I tried reading it and I got a few days in and then I just decided it was, you know, I will come back to this for sure. But just, it wasn't, I was like, you know what, not my vibe right now. You know how like, you know, you have your own arc. Sometimes when you read some really heavy stuff, you need some lighter stuff. Sometimes you read a lot of light stuff, you're ready for something heavier. So I was ready for some lighter stuff. Shape, which I got, let's see, 192, so almost 200 pages in. It's not even that this is bad, it's just not as good as I thought it would be. So it's cool, like he talks about basically just certain mathematical, actually even geometrical concept, because that's the whole thing. It's like about like shape and, you know, it's like, okay, geometry, boring, shapes sound boring, but it actually the formulas, the insights of geometry are actually related to, for instance, information, biology, strategy, democracy, and everything else. So, and it is very much like that pop sci book, like, you know, biology, strategy, oh yeah, and just about everything else in the world. So it's like, you know, one of the, it has that tone. So if you want that and you're looking for that, this could be good, at least for the first couple hundred pages. But it was just, you know, it just wasn't super speaking to me, so I moved on. Okay, so then we have American Indian Myths and Legends. Just another, see, you gotta keep, that's the thing, you gotta, Big Nate Gang needs to keep, you gotta keep that thing on you. The some collection of myths, and you gotta have it on your person at all times. So boom, whip it out. So let's see what I was on. The Good Twin and the Evil Twin, which actually, well, it's all highlighted and shit, so I guess I must have already read it. The Good Twin and the Evil Twin, that concept is just one that is, I think, one of the many expressions of duality, and so it's been particularly interesting to me. Like the idea, you know, Cain and Abel, the good twin and the evil twin, is this, you know, that's what I mean, same thing, it's the good and evil brothers. Abel is just like the beloved, God's chosen one, but because he's actually pure-hearted and good, whereas, you know, Cain, spoiler alert, he actually kills his brother Abel, so that whole idea. And okay, relatedly, An Indigenous People's History of the United States, and this is a book I'm actually reading right now. Winner of the 2015 Penn Oakland Award. Yeah, 2015 American Book Award. It's probably on the New York Times bestseller type of shit. But so far, really quite enjoying this. I've just this is kind of giving me that straight history that I was interested in, because it does read almost, I'm not gonna say to a fault, but like an academic text. But it is very much accessible, popular. Not popular, like pop anthropology. I would say pop anthropology. And yeah, I'm excited to, because we're just getting started. She's just saying this is the prologue, really, when you think about it, to the whole thing. So, but I've heard good things. Let me know if you've read this, and I'm excited. Okay, and then the other book that I'm reading right now, these are my main two, which are long, and it's probably going to take me a while. I did not go easy on myself. And we'll see how this one goes, but 3 Books of Occult Philosophy or Magic by Agrippa. And on the one hand, so let's see, I'm like 100 pages into this, and on the one hand, it's... So, okay, you can't even really see that shit. But it is, basically there's 2 parts to this. There's the occult, almost like, no, it is the philosophical. Actually, come to think of it, really what this is, there's 2 parts. One part of it is the philosophy of science, because he's inquiring as to, like, for instance, he gives the example of magnets. And honestly, the insane ICP, Insane Clown Posse, you know that song they have? Magnets. How do the fucking magnets, how do those work?
Water, fire, air, and dirt. Fucking magnets, how do they work? And I don't want to talk to a scientist. Y'all motherfuckers lying and getting me pissed.
So, but that is low-key on some Agrippa shit, because he talks about, like, where does magnetism get its source? And he refers to them as, like, virtues, like natural virtues that are just imbued into material. So that part's actually super cool. But then a lot of it is just kind of basically outdated science, where he's talking about the elements, like, there are 4 elements: fire, air. Like, I would have loved to see Agrippa's take on the modern periodic table. But anyway, so we'll see. But yeah, no. So far, I am enjoying it. It's just, it's quite the commitment. Okay, so that's basically my nightstand. Oh wait, no, hold up. I got this stack. Never mind. I got a whole nother stack. Don Juan, which I've been kind of going through my notes for, because I'm hoping to do a book review on that soon. So sit tight. Same things for Meister Eckhart's Selected Writings. I just finished this recently, so they're just kind of, they're chilling. They haven't got their way out of rotation yet. And like I said, hopefully I'll be talking about this book soon as well. Okay, yes, this one's deep, and yes, I have read. Is it an L that I got this far into this book? 100 pages. How to develop self-confidence and influence people. That sounds bad, but really what it is public speaking, because I'm actually quite a bad public speaker. You may have noticed on the channel, but I was even thinking in terms too of like professionally, like for instance, I have a conference coming up and I'm gonna have to give a presentation. So public speaking just is an important skill to have. And I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I'm sure, I just, Amazon, books on public speaking, some shit like this. One of the top rated, people seem to like it. And honestly, facts, it is kind of good. He talks to, like, for instance, Abraham Lincoln was apparently a really also bad public speaker. You know him for being a master rhetorician, but he used to be a bad public speaker, like horribly awkward. Like his friends described him as just like cringe fest. But, he put in work, he followed certain principles, and now 420 years ago today. So shout out to the Gettysburg Address, and shout out to Abraham Lincoln. And I don't know, yeah, I'm fucking with this. And if anything, it's low-key just on some, because I find that when I read this, I'm like, okay, I kind of want, it motivates me more than anything. But there is also good stuff. So yeah, whatever, say what you will. The Holy Bible. I feel like that's a good bedside book. It doesn't mean like, hold on, freaking gnat. You can, it's got some spider webs, so you can tell. Nah, that's fucked up. Nah, not the Holy Bible. But, and I actually have been dipping in here and there, but I don't know. If anything, sometimes I see a verse in a book, I'm inspired. I'm like, the Book of Job, that's like a huge thing. The problem of evil, like that comes from Dostoevsky and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, pick up the Book of Job, Genesis. There's some highlights in the Holy Bible, and I like to keep that. I keep that thing on me. Whoa, whoa. Okay, so that is pretty much that. Oh wait, no, hold up, damn. Wow, bro, I got hella stacks. Okay, almost done though. Writing Down the Bones by Natalie Goldberg. Yeah, exactly. A writing book. Ooh, covered in, once again, covered in spider webs. What does that mean? And still covered in, I'm not even gonna show that shit, but I really quite like this book, honestly. Just from what I remember, it has to be years at this point. But the one thing I for sure got from this book is the idea of just maintaining a journal of just like space where you can just the warm-up space. The warm-up space where you can just write about whatever, get the muscles flowing, and also having like, daily practice and just, shit like that. So, okay, hold up, breather. It's left over from this morning. They ain't gonna stop me. It's kind of the ritual at this point. Alrighty. Up next, I Am That meditation book by Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. And I keep this book on my bedside because I've technically been reading this for like many years. I'm decently far into it. I'm 330 pages. They're all sort of like little, shit, I can't lose that. Hold on, let me make sure. Like dialogues. I can't tell how good of a job that's doing to convey, but usually a page, 2 to 3 page dialogue between, basically he just, from what I can, this is how I imagine it in my head, he just sits there and anybody can ask him questions, and sometimes you get some really stupid questions actually. And he's just I guess just sits there and answers them meditation style, but some really good stuff in here. I'm actually quoted this book in some writing, and I swear to God I will finish it, but it's been at least, technically I would say it's been at least 4 years, actually, to say the minimum, more like 5 or 6. So, okay, now this is like the ones just under, there's like, it's a nice, actually, nightstand because it's got the top and then like a whole cubby underneath. And this is where I keep this whole kind of class of, basically, I think it's going to end up being like anthologies. So, the best poems of the English language. Oh, but you'll notice it's edited by Harold Bloom. And I should read more of this. The problem is, he just chooses like actually good poems. So sometimes they're like kind of long. It's not like a pickup, fucking roses are red, violets are blue, Big Nate is subscribed, you should too. Yeah, look, so you should subscribe just for that, or you hate poetry, or Harold Bloom. But up next is John Updike, Hugging the Shore, which I think are essays on literary criticism. Writing criticism is to writing fiction and poetry as hugging the shore is to sailing in the open sea, writes John Updike. Although, because he's basically saying writing criticism is you don't actually engage in the thing itself, you just watch from afar. But I think real criticism at its best, like for instance Walter Benjamin, I feel like he's a literary critic, but he is himself a writer. He's not hugging the shore. Bro is balls deep in the waters of literature. Otherwise known as The Human Condition, and honestly I forgot I even had this book, by I think it's Jeff Dyers, and he's just someone that came up as a popular nonfiction writer, winner of the National Book Critics Circle Award in criticism. So again, we're talking about criticism, he might be one. And actually I have read some things. So for instance, I know at some point it's going to be like pictures, yeah, like a photograph, and he writes essays about the photograph. Let me see if that can focus. That one's kind of mid. I think the next one's cool. Hold up. Yeah, I feel like I liked this one too. So, which I love that idea too, just an essay about a photograph. But then I see like right here, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Tender is the Night. Let's see. Editions of Contemporary Me. Def Leppard and the Anthropology of Supermodernity. Wow, this actually sounds really cool. Oh, dang, and look at this picture. Whoa, Jeff, have I been sleeping on you? Let me know if I should read Jeff Dyers in the chat. Okay, the Best American Essays. I think this is edited by Joko. Yeah, Joyce Carol Oates. And I got that because Joyce Carol Oates edited it. And you'll notice, surprise, surprise, the next one, the Best American Essays of the, it's actually blocked out, so who knows, The Blank Century, also by Joyce Carol Oates. I was going to say, did I get the same thing? But no. One is the Best American Essays, 1999. One is Of the Century. Although they're also edited by, there's a co-editor, Robert Otwan, in both of them. Well, okay. Anyhow, let's take a look, honestly. Of the 21st... Oh, it just says Of the Century. Okay, never mind. Zora Neale Hurston, Gertrude Stein, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Richard Wright, Robert Frost, E.B. White, Langston Hughes, Ernest Hemingway, William James, W.E.B. Du Bois. Oh, nice, cool. And Mark Twain. So, yeah, okay, I'm like, nice. Could be cool. Could be cool. Will be cool. In fact, I think I started reading the Mark Twain essay. Oh, geez. The Best American Short Stories of the Century, John Updike. So there's John Updike again. Let's see. On the back here, Vladimir Nabokov, Joyce Carol Oates, Tim O'Brien, Flannery O'Connor, William Faulkner, Fitzgerald. Oh dang, bros be making lists. Hemingway, Carver. So for instance, if you're interested, here are some names. And yeah, again, just one of those I should be picking up and reading a story here and there. Okay, and then this, which is, you know, honestly, I feel like I would read this if it was just so less unwieldy. Bartlett, almost said Bartleby, the Scrivener. Bartlett, that was also a Discord short story pick, so get to the Discord. Bartlett's Familiar Quotations. Anyway, it's just one of those books that is literally, first off, it's huge, which is crazy. But yeah, I'm just going to open up. So he says, never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. Nice. And they just got a ton of people. The thing about this book is just like literally like an enormous textbook. So it's actually, I don't find myself visiting it that often. And speaking of textbooks, we might as well move to this next section, which is actually, I kind of grouped them all together. They are just textbooks. But still, I've actually read a good amount and kind of, I don't know, fuck it. So again, the ones that'll make the lit students shiver in their spines. The Norton Anthology of American Literature. Then we have A Survey of Metaphysics by E.J. Lowe, which this is the book I bought twice. I'm pretty sure it's going to pop up twice at some point. And I read this thing damn near cover to cover and actually learned a lot. It was for a class called Metaphysics, and I took it seriously and I actually got a lot out of it. So that was a good class. Same thing with both of these, and I can't remember if they were the same class, but they're the same thing. This book, corny ass cover, right? I was like, when this came in the mail, I was like, oh god. But it's actually really good, at least as much as I remember. So these were related to just, I don't know, I guess like artificial intelligence. Thinking as computation, actually I almost feel like this came from, don't hold me to this, but like psychology classes where you view the mind literally, not as a computer, but like kinda. So I actually forget, or it could have just been an AI class. Wouldn't it have been cool if one was from each of the each? Okay, memory. This, I remember I asked for this for my birthday. It's a textbook, like I said, on memory, From Mind to Molecules, by Larry Squire and Eric Kandel, who are like literally, so Eric Squire at least is like he wrote the Bible of neuroscience. So yeah, as you can see, hold on, ooh, we got the highlights, we got brains, we got all that good stuff. So I remember quite liking this book. And yeah, I wonder what this painting is. I should look that up and figure out what the story is. Gustav Klimt. Oh, nice. Avenue in the Park of Schloss Kammer. Okay, nice. So, yeah, that was fun. The Superorganism. This is that book I was talking about earlier. It's got E.O. Wilson, winner of the Pulitzer Prize for The Ants. So, and it's just a big textbook. And honestly, again, I actually kind of would, especially now that I'm getting my math up, I really would like to, like, do they get into what the principles, like down to what level? Ooh, cool picture of an ant. Communication is the chapter, and it's like through pheromones and shit. So, but yeah, so I'm keeping this one. I'm keeping this one on site. Cognitive Neuroscience, dang near read this thing cover to cover too. This was also just, this was for a class, I think literally on Cognitive Neuroscience, and really enjoyed this. Got a lot out of it. Very challenging, but again, very rewarding. Good class. Okay, I can't remember. I feel like I bought this at like a yard sale, but also half of me thinks I did have a class. I'm just like, I should be able to recall that, but it does seem super familiar. Oh, it just clicked. Oh my god. This was for a bio class that I took in community college, which is like so far back, but Essentials of Ecology. And honestly, this has been eyeing me in the idea of ecology, even just like climatological systems, just the nature of like predator-prey hierarchies, food chains, but really more like food network. That whole, you know, Yellowstone, reintroduction of the wolves, ecology, adult development and aging. I'm pretty sure I read this whole thing too, but this was for a psychology, I think literally of aging class. And honestly gave me a lot to think about, just in terms of like, we don't really give old age much thought, but it is a change of, is an important like stage of cognitive change, emotional change, values, not to mention like development of the brain and stuff. So that was, yeah, that was a good time. That was for my psychology degree. Traversing Philosophical Boundaries. I talked about this book. This is really, I would almost trace this book to being my interest in like actual sort of like, not even academic philosophy, but you know, like the more like classical philosophy. And that was from a community college class I took, who my professor was awesome and like read my shitty writing and was just an overall dope guy. But yeah, shout out to that book. Okay, I'm about to pause for a drink. Okay, and then we're gonna get right back into it. Okay, so statistics for the behavioral sciences. So before I got my job, this is a friend of mine's and I'm quote unquote borrowing it for an extended indefinite period of time. No, I'm just playing. But I was like, before I was got my, because I'm like a biostatistician technically, or like data analyst, whatever you want to call it, but it uses heavy statistics. So I was like drilling this, working up my date to, working up to my start date just to dust off some of the cobwebs. So I mean, I think it's actually a really good textbook, and if this is something you happen to be interested in, I would not recommend this. Then up next we have an encyclopedia, a kid's encyclopedia. Again, this is just for high reading, like, you know, where this should be on my nightstand, you know what I mean? This should be on my nightstand. In fact, I might make a point to do that. Big pictures, just that bare bones text that you need to know. That's cool. So it's for kids, so surely you like high is at a kid level. Although sometimes I'll be pushing it. Sometimes me sober, I'm pushing it with kid level. Modern art is what this book is called. I got this for, what is it, $2.29 at Goodwill. I'm like, even if I just use it for the pictures, let alone read it, God forbid, I learn some art history, or rather, art modernity. So, yeah, that's that. Don't sleep on Goodwill as a source of books, my friends. Do not do it. Okay, and then these are just like literary magazines. I just thought it was funny because the only reason I have these is because I've tried to submit writing to both of these, and it looks good if you like, you know, like you actually have an account. And plus, I'm like, God forbid I subscribe to a literary magazine. But yeah, I'm like, whatever. It's nice to have these on hand. Oh God, I held that weird. It's nice to have them on hand. Fuck it, why not? So, okay, set that aside. Okay, and then we have Gustave Doré's companion piece, basically, for Paradise Lost, where it goes through and paints, or he does, like, I don't know, drawings, I'm pretty sure they're drawings, but of accompanying the scenes of Paradise Lost. What's this one called? Him, the almighty power, hurled headlong, flaming from the ethereal sky. Yeah, that's the angels getting kicked out of heaven. No, they're falling. Oh, look, even here we go. These are like the big ones, actually, I feel like, that you see associated with Paradise Lost. The fall of the angel. So, anyway, yeah, this is, I don't know. I feel like I read Paradise Lost. I've seen Gustave Doré and I like it. So I'm like, how could I not get this? Okay, so just real quick, last but not least, before I go take another intermission, these are the books that are on my desk side. So I got like my just everyday kind of desk, and I have like a little stack that's been building up. And so this is them. This I just traded with a homie of mine. He recommended I read it, and I traded him with Sapiens, so because he'd been interested in that. So the Scientist as Rebel, and I think this has to do with, yeah, hold on. From Galileo to today's amateur astronomers, blah, blah, blah. Like artists and poets, they are free spirits who resist the restrictions in their pursuit of blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it has to do with science and art, and that's particularly what I'm interested in. So, shout out to David. Electrical engineering, because I was doing a wee bit of robotic stuff. I just don't have the time, honestly, and but this does seem like a good place to start. Raving reviews on Amazon, and I started reading through it, and then once we got to logs, this was like way back when. Once we got to logs, I said, "What are you talking about, bro?" A Book of Angels. I'm pretty sure I took this out actually specifically as one of those things where it's like, oh, I should read this, and I have not read it. But yeah, because like, look, nice little pictures. Let's see, and again, I think it's just an anthology of angels, although I'm not sure. Let me see, what's the table of contents? Oh, here, look, we got a quote from Rilke. But if the archangel now, perilous from behind the stars, took even one step down toward us, our own heart, beating higher and higher, would beat us to death. Who are you? There's even that emphasis. Huh, I actually don't quite get that. Let me know your interpretation of this in the comment. Pause and reflect. Pause, read this quote. How does this relate to angels, do you think? Let us know in the discussion board. So that is A Book of Angels. Paradise Lost. I think I just pulled this out for some reason, just on some whatever shit. But hey, that's been fitting. So, and I just never put it away. So shout out to Paradise Lost. Alchemy and Mysticism. This is just low-key awesome pictures and little captions, and I believe there's little like chapter essays on just all these mystic ideas and mystic themes. And you'll notice, if you saw the astute the astute viewer will have noticed I lost my bookmark or my place because of the bookshelf, so that's unfortunate. But that is Alchemy and Mysticism, published by Taschen, who's big for having like art books. So The Great Thoughts, once again, this was an instance of me taking this out to read more, and guess what I have not even really dipped into, but again, it's just like John Lilly, love knoweth no law, like right there, boom, homosexuality being illegal, gay marriage, blah 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 blah. Though all men be made of one metal, yet they be not cast in one mold. Ooh, I like that. I like that. How rare a thing it is to match virginity with beauty. Okay. All right, John Lilly, we're going to go ahead and put you away. So that's, now tell me that wasn't a great thought. Tell me that wasn't a great thought. Yeah, you can't. Okay, the Mystery Traditions, which is another one of those picture books. And wait, Mystic? No, it says Mystery, which is the same thing as the Mystic Traditions, if you ask me. So yeah, just one of those books that seems sick to at some point get to. Damn. Night, bro. I need that shit hanging up on my door wall. Like, you need to be passing through that purge. That's fire. I like that. So anyway, shout out to that. Okay, I'm gonna go, go about my day, but I assure you I will be back. We have more books to talk about, as you can tell. So yeah, I'll see you in a bit.